Okay, no time for intro. Fire Giant. The story behind the Fell God is, I guess, kinda interesting, but the Fire Giant himself has basically nothing to offer. Sure, he has one of the coolest face transitions in the whole game, but his lore could be summarized in 2 sentences. 1. He's the last of his kind. 2. He's protecting people from eating themselves in the fire. So, yeah, he's basically Light Gwen. C tier. Next up we have Godskins. The story behind Godskins and Glowmite Queen is badass to say the least. You have literally a group of fanatics who circumcise gods and own the best soundtrack in the series, and the worst moveset. I really like the themes behind how evil they are, but there isn't much more to say about them than this, so for that, bottom of the A tier. Regal Ancestor Spirit. Ranala. Look, the story of House Karya is actually cool, but no one really cares about Ranala except for this guy, so B tier. Malenia. Malenia is an easy S tier. She has so many different driving forces behind her that makes her such a layered character. Also, I think she's one of the least transparent characters in the whole series. Thanks to the amount of information that is spread out throughout the game, there's barely any mysteries about her lore, except for her motives in the Battle of Ionia and nuking the whole Khalid. And honestly, that's one of the reasons that I like her. She's explained thoroughly as a character, but also she's the center of one of the biggest mysteries in the lore. She also kinda broke the tragic hero or asshole villain trope in these games, and is more of a grey character. Her loyalty to Mikola is so much that we can't put her in the asshole zone. Yet, she fucked Khalid up so bad that it wouldn't be fair to put her in the hero zone, so I'ma just put her in the middle. Next up, we have Rykard. Oh, Rykard, our sad snake boy. I think he's pretty cool. Like, when all the other demigods were trying to kill each other, he was trying to eat them. So, yep, A tier. And Radon. The name Starscourge alone is one of the most badass names in all of these games. Actually no. Sword Saint is cooler, but you get what I mean. He's basically known as the big hero in this game, thanks to the amount of fanboyism surrounding him, which is actually a compliment. Like, if you could die 50 times to this guy and still love him for his overly wholesome lore, that means he's got something special. There's also the whole strongest demigod of them all aspect of him. Like, you gave the strength of Hercules to someone who would spend his whole weekend playing fetch with his dog. It's just such a cool contrast that we don't see often in these games. So, obviously S tier. Godric. I think his story is told very well. Like, the whole design of a Stormvale castle is narrating his lore, but he's just an underdog with no redeeming qualities whatsoever. Maybe his cool voice acting or the fact that he wants to make his papa proud could be considered redeeming, but nope. Also, he lost to Malenia and she didn't even bother to take his Great Throne. Really goes on to show how pathetic he is. B tier. Next up we have Morgott. Look, guys, I can explain. In terms of being tragic, there isn't even a single character that could come close to Morgott. And isn't that what Soulsborne lore is all about? This dude was literally grown up in the sewers and then randomly decided to protect those who wronged him. He decided to protect the very system that put him there in the first place. I think he's the most selfless character in all of these games. His entire lore could be summarized in this one sentence. He loved not in return, for he was never loved. But nevertheless, love it, he did. Like, If this was the only explanation about Morgott that we got in the whole game, he would still be my favorite character in the lore. Also, let's not forget that he casually beat Radon once, so he basically has his own tier. Astel. He destroyed 2 ancient cities. That's it. That's the lore. C tier. Next up we have Godfrey. Oh, Godfrey. The Big Daddy himself. I believe Godfrey is the strongest character in all of Elden Ring. Like, this guy basically made fire giants go. Marika herself had to put some sort of shadow beast on him just to limit his thirst for battle. First time I saw Godfrey, I was like, oh, fuck. He has a beast on his back protecting him. Then Godfrey ripped him in half and I was like, oh, he was actually protecting me. The cool thing about him is that he's a bloodthirsty warrior who also seems to be kind of fair. Like, he and Malenia are the only bosses in this game who actually respect your strength and effort when you defeat them.
Brave, tarnished, thy strength befits a crown.
Hell, he compliments you even if you lose, and that is just enough to put him in the S tier. Alright, next one is Lich Dragon Fortisax. The fork-wielding Fortisax. The Fortisax. Fortisax is just such a homie. He got his ass beat by Godwyn and then became best friends with him. Even after the Night of the Black Knives, he remained by his side and fought death until he was corrupted by it. I would have loved to put him higher on this ranking, but it's basically the second time that FromSoft made a dragon who was corrupted by something he wanted to destroy. B tier. Malekith. When you think about it, Malekith is this guy, but depressed. He's the living evidence of how cruel and unfaithful Marika could be towards those who serve her. Just like this fucking... You fuck! Before that, he was the boogeyman of all demigods. Like, none of them would have dared to start the shattering if Malekith wasn't depressed. So for this reason, and that is the reason my channel is getting some recognition, I'm gonna put him on top of A tier. Next up is Radagon. Alright, I'm gonna rank Radagon's lore as in Radagon, not Marika Radagon. He took the lead in the war against House Korea and Rennala, which he just couldn't win. If it was Godfrey, he probably would have served Rennala as a dessert, you fucking loser. And then Radagon thought to himself, we can't win, so why don't we just... fuck. So, he married Rennala, gave her 3 children, and then went to buy Mel. Radon became a fanboy of ex-husband of his dad's new wife, Ronnie had an existential crisis that she couldn't get over, and Rykard just became Rykard. Like, he started looking for another family. I think that's pretty much an allegory for the average dad experience in modern times, so A tier. Dragon Lord Plesejusax is the Lord of the Dragons, and he's cool as fuck. B tier. And our next demigod is Mohg. I'm not gonna lie, Mohg's design is very cool, but his story lacks in so many things. Like, his most influential act is kidnapping Miquella, and that's it. If you take that act out of his story, he's basically just a shard bearer who has no impact on the overall story whatsoever. Also, the whole Blood Palace feels really out of place and disconnected from the main lore. I'm sure there will be more explanations in the DLC, but as of now, only for the sake of Miquella, B tier. That's it. Let me know in the comments who do you think has the best lore in all of this game. And, goodbye.